Panic buying is getting worse amongst anxious consumers as we approach Christmas and New Year's Eve celebrations. Since the burst of the sanitary outbreak, we have witnessed several rounds of panic purchases that have wiped out grocery shelves and prompted supply shortages all over the nation. After new lockdowns started to be enforced in several states, people rushed into the stores one more time to stockpile on essentials, fearing strict movement limitations amid a dark winter. Now, as festivities get closer, buyers have been massively stocking up on holiday-related goods, even causing an unexpected shortage in Christmas trees due to the sudden and incredibly high spike in demand. But while some are being driven by panic, others have already exhausted all of their options and are being driven by complete desperation. That's what we're going to discuss in today's video. So stay with us and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel to keep updated with the next chapters of the economic collapse. Just as we've seen over the past 9 months, the final run of 2020 is also being marked by a series of dramatic events. As case numbers continue to climb, authorities have enforced new, rigid restrictions that have been triggering consumers to resume panic buying tendencies. Goods have been flying off the shelves, and this time around their purchases are not limited just to toilet paper and cleaning supplies. Wine, meat, dairy products, pasta, baking mixes, and several holidays-related products are disappearing from stores fairly quickly. Although some major food retailers such as Kroger, Giant, and Target have affirmed to have enough to attend to the demand, in multiple locations they've started to reinstate purchase limits on high-demand items, which has sparked anxiety among shoppers. According to the Washington Post, despite big retailers' claims that there are enough supplies to go through to the end of the year, it's essential that they impose restrictions to prevent buyers from hoarding and ensure there won't be another round of shortages. However, due to transportation issues, supply shortages are expected to occur during the winter, and prices are projected to keep soaring in months ahead. We saw a major demand spike in March and April, and we're certainly seeing another wave now as case numbers crest again across the country. This time around, it's a little bit of everything: cleaning products, toilet paper, cold and flu medicine, shelf-stable food, pointed out Nick Green, chief executive of Thrive Market. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon has disclosed that even though the situation is a lot better than it was earlier this year, when stores weren't prepared at all and were surprised by a major supply chain disruption, it's still disappointing to see as many out of stocks as they have in consumables right now. Data released by the Washington Post has described that while there was hoarding of inexpensive pantry products like dried beans, flour, yeast, pasta, and rice, the co-leader of food and beverage for global law practice Nixon Peabody, Janet Garrido, has stated that other food sectors could be more in demand as well if strict restaurant closures and shelter-at-home orders linger for much longer. As we're still in the middle of a ravaging health crisis, it's only natural that consumers' stockpiling favorites are paper and cleaning items. And since they've been limited and unable to get as many as they'd like in stores, they've been resorting to online shopping to get what they want. You walk into Costco and there are signs that say limit 1 toilet paper package per customer. Panic buying has already begun, although not to the extent that we saw before, maintained Kathleen Aycock, a PhD, who teaches supply chain management at Villanova University. At this stage of the crisis, the panic buying trend has extended its range to several different products, as Aycock revealed. One of the more surprising items that are flying off the shelves is Tupperware. Tupperware prices in some regions are almost tripling in sales. During the holiday season, people want to bake, and with more people at home, baking products have become popular as well, she said. According to the National Retail Federation, The sale of holiday decorations, candy, and gifts is expected to rise this year too. But as some of the most preferred items are already scarce on the shelves, prices for holiday items are also expected to rise. On the basis of the latest U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data regarding consumer spending, Sui Lim Chia, Ph.D., who teaches marketing at LaSalle University, affirmed the cost of numerous goods significantly rose in November. He said the Consumer Price Index is up 3.6%. The price index for meat has gone up over 7% in the last 12 months. Also consider that costs have also gone up for them in terms of keeping the meat factories running and keeping up with cleaning. Chia argued that this current round of panic-driven stockpiling tendencies is being led by Americans' increasing fear of what might happen during this dark winter, as well as a need for comfort by relying on traditions to shift the focus from the tragic events we've experienced this year. We're going through a period of time where we feel a lack of control, and Christmas spending is something that we feel allows us to control the atmosphere around us, he said. However, for some, this growing desire of running away from the spectrum of disconcerting news and upsetting circumstances has become a little too extreme, and now they've been trying to overcompensate by celebrating the holidays to the max. Consequently, and also very unexpectedly, a Christmas tree shortage is being registered across the nation. For example, in Asheville, North Carolina, a local shop called Boyd Christmas Trees informed they hit record-high sales this year. All of their inventory is now gone. North Carolina is the second largest tree-producing state in the United States, harvesting over 4 million trees a year. But after the rush for Christmas trees over the past few weeks, workers of the industry have been stressing there's simply not enough trees to go around during this holiday season. Jennifer Green, the executive director of North Carolina Christmas Tree Association, highlighted that media coverage about tree shortages may have spurred some of the panic buying behavior, but there are underlying reasons why people are in a hurry to guarantee their valued holiday symbol. I think people want some joy and a bright spot, a light at the end of the tunnel, Green said. It's been a rough year for everyone, and Christmas is a happy time. They're wanting to get that earlier and make it last longer in such a gloomy year. That's why Christmas consumers have been finding tree lots and farms already sold out, and some are already closing due to lack of inventory. As it was reported on local news, that is the case of the Yoder family, who've been searching for a tree since November 30th. The family used to get theirs from Boyd Mountain Christmas Tree Farm at Maggie Valley, but the farm has closed on November 29th due to a shortage of trees. Eventually, the Yoders found a farm with a specimen they were looking for. A tree lot owner said they were lucky to find one, with so many panic-buying trees this year. According to Keith Yoder, the owner, said he'd never seen anything like it. He compared it to the rush on paper towels and toilet paper, Keith said. There was a mass of people coming in with trailers. From food to cleaning products and even Christmas trees, panic buying is a reflection of how the sanitary outbreak and its collateral damage has impacted the mindset of our population. Americans have been experiencing symptoms of depression, anxiety, and obsessive-compulsive disorders like never before. The uncertainty about the future and the lack of control about what might happen next is leading people to overreact in an attempt to safeguard themselves from the harder times that seem to be approaching. Considering many Americans had their lives completely turned upside down during this crisis, their minds seem to be in a constant state of emergency, and having some sort of abundance around them may help to restore their confidence that they will be able to make it through this crisis. A recent analysis on changing behaviors during the current recession has outlined that even the shift from outdoor dining to home-cooked meals and the transfer from office environments to working from home may affect the population's confidence that they will indeed stay afloat. While confined at home, people tend to pay a lot more attention to missing items as they did before, when they knew they could get whatever they needed, whenever they needed, pretty much anywhere. Panic buying is just an exit some found to cope with the disruptions brought by the crisis. In any case, those who can still work from home and buy their own food are on the most fortunate side of the spectrum. Last week, applications for unemployment benefits surged again, which provides a clear indication that the most recent business shutdowns are triggering fresh job losses. The Labor Department said that initial jobless claims rose by 137,000 to 853,000, and not considering the seasonal adjustment, the figure has increased by almost 229,000. This means that the labor market recovery will be held back for at least as long as lockdowns continue. In every cycle of restrictions, more jobs are lost and fewer jobs are added back in. According to Chief Investment Officer at Crescent Capital Management, Jack Ablin, this rise in claims is testing investors' optimism. While investors are rightfully celebrating the vaccines, I think they're not set up to endure 2 quarters of pretty daunting economic news, he said. But the most brutal difference is that while mass layoffs affect investors' prospects of obtaining more profit, for workers, it affects their prospects of obtaining enough to eat. On one hand, some panic buy and stock up what they can to enhance their comfort. On the other hand, millions can't afford to have 2 meals a day. A new survey conducted by market research company OnePoll found that roughly 4 in 10 Americans report that they experienced food insecurity for the first time this year, with about half of them revealing they've struggled to afford food, while 37% affirmed to have skipped meals so there was enough food for their children to eat. On average, there was a 60% increase in those seeking help from food banks across the nation. In some counties, 1 in 2 children are now facing hunger. The crisis is acute and it's nationwide, said Kate Leone, Feeding America's Chief Government Relations Officer. She revealed that some of their clients are former volunteers and even donors. Leone stated, "We think that about 4 in 10 of the people we're serving now are new to needing charitable assistance." On the same note, Emily Slazer, food sourcing manager of New Orleans' Second Harvest Food Bank, disclosed in an interview that the pantry's volunteers are seeing clients who are sleeping in their cars, arriving on site at 2 or 3 in the morning, sometimes even the night before. It's just a stunning and heartbreaking visual to see so many members of our community who are hungry, she lamented. To make things worse, the high level of demand is pushing several pantries to an inevitable food cliff, which means many of them are about to exhaust their resources. Additionally, with the expiration of federal aid programs set to happen in a couple of weeks, millions more are likely to suffer from the desperation and anguish of not knowing when it will be their next meal. The worst side of this crisis isn't portrayed by the growing panic amongst consumers, nor investors' lack of optimism and a crippled economic outlook, but by the roaring of the empty stomachs of our citizens that could never imagine that they will be left facing this tragic reality all of a sudden. And as the economic deterioration deepens, we will be headed to more challenges as we enter 2021.